Super Mario Bros.3 World 2-Quicksand. Published on my website, accordionsprout.com, 21st of September, 2023. There's a level in Super Mario Bros. 3 that's terrifying, and not just because it challenges literally every natural law that governs reality. Years after playing the game, Super Mario All-Stars on my parents' Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES, I can still recall the panic I experienced playing this level. I feel comfortable admitting this. I really haven't experienced a comparable scare by a video game until I played Resident Evil 7 and one of the molded poked its head out from around the corner. What game could possibly compare to arguably one of the most terrifying gaming experiences in the last 10 years? The answer, of course, is Super Mario Bros. 3. I interrupt this recording to note that sentence was probably part of a better plan, but the title already gave it away. But you know what? It's published, it's done, what can you do? Getting back. Super Mario Bros. 3 was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, in North America on the 12th of February 1990, almost one exact year after I was born. FYI. After recently finishing Elise Noor's book about the game, I decided to try and tackle it again on my Nintendo Switch and see if I could finally beat it. I had made it as far as World 3-4 when I was a kid. Surely now I would be able to get past that. I'm currently on World 3-8 and Boss Bass keeps eating me. Rotten bastard. Super Mario Bros. 3 was distinct from its predecessors in the Mario Bros. Series for a number of reasons. There was more music, more enemies, distinct worlds, and an overworld map that allowed players the chance to explore regions as they moved from level to level rather than shift to them via fade-to-black sequences. Now, Mario and Luigi could traverse regions that were decorated with dancing trees, lakes and rivers, pyramids, mountains, and even castles. Each of the levels within these worlds were represented by a small dark square which was decorated with a star and a number. Most of them did anyway. After beating World 2-3 and the Fortress, players will observe a square which has no numbers and it's decorated by what appears to be a kind of vortex of quicksand. When I was a kid, this visual effect left me curious and hesitant to progress, but I wanted to keep playing the game, so I entered the course. What followed was a delightful early experience with hell. The level opens up like most of the levels in this world do. Mario stands on a flat plane of sand in an empty blue sky. However, unlike the other levels up to this point, the sky was now decorated with a sun that had a face. This wasn't unusual to the game. One of the designers, Takashi Tezuka, responsible for art direction, had wanted to put more details in the first game, and thanks to the processing power of the NES, he could. The end result was that various shrubs and clouds in the background of the game now had eyes, giving them a living personality rather than empty decoration. This sun wasn't just a decoration, however. This sun was angry. It glared at me from on high and was baring its teeth. Whatever, my young mind thought. The clouds have eyes in this world, why not the sun? Fool that I was. My brain fashioned the thought that this heavenly body, murder on its mind, reminded me of the suns at Poncho's that smiled at me while I ate my enchiladas. So I ignored it and kept going. I walked and encountered quicksand pits that were frustrating, but I worked through them. I encountered a tornado that swept me back and forced me to refine my skills, achieving the P level, allowing me to jump over it. There were a few Koopas that were easily dispatched. Things were going well for me, and I predicted an easy win. And then the goddamn sun started falling out of the sky to attack me. It bobbed back and forth above me like a cobra ready to strike. When it was ready, it swooped down in an arc right into my path. Had I the language at the time to say, "Dude, what the fuck?" I would have. Earnestly. I started the level again, ready and hopeful to beat this new enemy unlike anything in the game to this point. And again, the sun's trajectory was hawk-like. The sun killed me over and over again. And I eventually stopped playing to go read some comics. Living in Texas, and as of this writing, surviving a summer with temperatures reaching 108 degrees with a real feel of 115, fuck you, humidity, the idea that the sun wants to kill me isn't so much of a fanciful notion anymore. This essay won't become an environmental PSA about climate change. Rather, it's an opportunity to observe how well designed the quicksand level is structured. When playing most Super Mario games, obstacles are typically shaped by how difficult I have to navigate Mario's body around the space of the levels. This is partly because Mario shifts. Unlike other video game protagonists, Mario's movements, even while walking, can build a kind of momentum, and it's easy to forget that even when you stop moving the D-pad. Mario will shift an inch or so. His physical presence is such that moving forward in any direction creates an energy that will build until it is released. This can be unnerving in certain areas where platform jumps are incredibly small and I have to figure out how much or how little momentum I have to build in order to land exactly on a single square. Likewise, in water levels, Mario's physicality will make swimming challenging because, if I'm not careful, I may push too hard and land directly into a squid or fish. World 2-Quicksand, that's what I'm calling it now, pushes the player so that I no longer have to account for just Mario's weight and momentum. I now also have to factor my environment. Other levels in Super Mario 3 include some environmental factors, but they're typically ones that players have already become accustomed to. Gaps in the floor, navigating motion through water, blocks that will determine trajectory of jumps that need to be made, or platforms that will rise and fall or even sink into the ground once Mario jumps on them. These are familiar elements that I know even by the end of the first few levels. The Angry Sun dramatically shifted my understanding of the game. And clearly, I wasn't the only one struck by this. My first real re-examination of the Angry Sun character came after watching a Dorkly video on YouTube titled The Angry Sun Hates Mario. Explaining jokes is an easy way to kill humor, so I'll let my reader watch it for themselves. But while watching it, I was reminded of the experience of wondering why the sun was so dedicated to trying to kill me. While researching for this essay, I found an article on Kotaku.com written by Kevin Wong titled, Super Mario Bros.3 Angry Sun Gave Me Anxiety. After I nodded and finished saying, same dude, same, I read Wong's article and appreciated how he manages to capture the panic I experienced while also observing the angry sun as an important design mechanic. He says, Mario games live and die by their exactitude. The controls are unusually precise and the rules are simple, but consistent. Mario does exactly what you tell him to, and the environments react every time in the way you expect them to. The Angry Sun level challenges that comfort. Between the quicksand, the weirdly inclined terrain, the piranha plants, and the tornado, you get the impression that the environment has rebelled against Mario. Nature itself is your enemy. The figurative solid ground you once stood upon is pulled out from under you. And then the angry sun begins dive-bombing out of the sky. Wong's article made me pause and reflect. He's right. It's not just the sun itself, it's the whole damn level. The quicksand can quickly swallow me up, and if I've progressed far enough so that the sun is after me, then my ability to dodge its strikes is hindered. This happens to me quite a bit when I was younger. Playing the game again recently, I accounted for the quicksand and pushed through this level. And it wasn't the panic-inducing nightmare it had been in my youth, but I still appreciated this level as a challenge. Accounting for Mario's momentum, the sun's arc and attack pattern, and the environmental challenges in the form of sand and jumps further complicated by the few Koopas that populate this level, all contribute to one of the most difficult and simultaneously enjoyable levels of the game up to that point. Yes, the sun sent me into a panic attacks when I was a kid, and I admit it may have killed me enough times to send me into a rage-quitting slump. Despite this, I continued, and the level has become one of my favorite Mario missions in any video game. The fun of Mario games is recognizing the patterns of the levels and determining how to overcome them. Like a great obstacle course, World 2-Quicksand follows the typical pattern of the rest of the areas in World 2, but it manages to provide a challenge to the player to make sure they are not becoming inured or bored by the gameplay. And what about the story? The sun is as much a narrative tool as any element of the game. Mario is trying to save the Mushroom Kingdom from Bowser and the Koopalings, and the sun's effort to stop him becomes a challenge to his conviction to continue. It would be easy to succumb to this obstacle and admit defeat, and like I said, I succumbed to that failure numerous times. Great games challenge players to test their resolve, and while a number of players may get frustrated by the angry sun killing them over and over again, it's a testament to the narrative depth of Super Mario Bros.3 that in spite of this obstacle, many resolve themselves to keep playing. I did eventually beat World 2-Quicksand when I was a kid, moving on to World 3 where a new, similar obstacle would be waiting for me in the form of Boss Bass, an obstacle that I'm still trying to push through almost 20 years on. I note, as a small aside, I don't know why I paused there, but I note as a small aside, as of this recording, I actually have now finally beaten Boss Bass, and I'm currently on World 8 of Super Mario Bros. 3. I'm working ever so slowly towards finally beating it, multiple decades after the fact, but just wanted to clarify that one point. Where was I? Oh yes, World 2-Quicksand. In short, this level owns, dude. It fucking rocks, because it's not fun at first, and then it is. The Angry Sun, or maybe as Johnathan Appel notes in an article for harddrive.net, maybe he's just disappointed, remains one of my favorite enemies in any video game to date because of the way he challenged me to keep trying and eventually move forward to more difficult and challenging levels. Nothing is more terrifying than the sun. Until it isn't, and I've moved on to the next great challenge. Joshua Jammer Smith, September 21st, 2023. Howdy, I'm Jammer. So, as always at the start of this, I want to thank everybody for listening. I do not mind telling y'all, this video has been a labor of love, or perhaps a labor of dedication and conviction to just saying, no, I will progress, because at some point, after recording this entire video once and failing multiple times, my computer glitched, or more accurately, Microsoft Clipchamp, that's the service or the program I use to make these videos, it decided it didn't want to recognize my Wi-Fi anymore. So then I had to basically work through a browser, and then I had to find a new recording app, and it was just one headache after the other, or to quote a great writer about the year 1968, it was just one goddamn thing after another. But, hey, we are here, the video is done, or at least by the time you're hearing this, it is done, it's complete. And I'm happy because this is the first longer essay that I've recorded. Anyone who's read my website, accordionsprout.com, knows I've written a fair number of longer essays ranging from like 800 to even 4,000 words. So I've been wanting to do some of the longer ones, but I figured the under 500 words would be best to start off because, you know, people are only going to listen to me talk about video games for so long before they're going to go watch Sabrina Carpenter's new music video or something, which, by the way, if you haven't watched it, it's pretty good. Jenna Ortega's in it. It's really funny. I appreciate it. Lots of references that I also appreciated. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please, the usual claptrap of YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. If you do that, it helps me because, one, YouTube sees that people are watching this, in which case I'll get on the algorithm more and people will start watching this, which is great. But more realistic for me, I, as always, have criminally low self-esteem. It drives my girlfriend crazy. So it's a little thing. It's a small endorphin rush, but if I see those likes, it makes me think, oh, cool, somebody's actually watching this and liking it, which keeps me going. And then if you like the channel and want to support me and what I'm doing, not just in terms of this YouTube channel, but also accordionsprout.com with my writing, or if you... That was my phone. I didn't realize I had notifications turned on. Bop. What was I saying? Oh, yes, if you like what I'm doing, this is a professional recording session right now. Ugh. Also, I have my kitty cat in my lap. He's insistent that he be here for this. What was I doing? Promotion. Self-promotion. I have a Patreon for this and all the stuff that I do, my visual art, my writing, my recording, what have you. It's just patreon.com/jammerdraws. It's $1 tier, that's it, because I treat it like a musician with their hat out, or for some people, they leave their guitar case open. If you're passing by and you like what I'm doing, throw a buck in my hat. I will appreciate it immensely. Now, as for this, or the after commentary. So, this essay was written and published in 2023, and it was one of my earlier essays on Accordion Sprout, which is just my way of saying I was kind of faffing about trying to figure out what I wanted these essays to be and what I was trying to do with them, because I hadn't really written about video games before, and there was a ton of imposter syndrome about it. So, a lot of aspect of the prose is very loose. There were several actual, small grammatical errors that I actually was correcting while I was reading this. I'm going to try to remember what they were to go back in and correct them on the actual essay itself. Also, I will make sure to post a link to the Dorkly video, The Angry Son Hates Mario, because that video is hilarious and I love it. Likewise, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Wong. His article, Super Mario Bros.3 Angry Son Gave Me Anxiety. Again, it's on kotaku.com, but I'll leave it in the description section below. Please check it out because it's a great essay, it's really funny, and if you played this game growing up like I did, it'll give you a nice little rush of nostalgia. Also, near the start, I mentioned that I had recently finished Elise Knorr's book about Super Mario Bros. 3. Obviously, I haven't finished that book recently, but the book in question is, the title of it is just Super Mario Bros. 3. It's put out by the company, or the publication company, Boss Fight Books. I would highly recommend it. Elise Knorr is a poet, and she's written 2 books about video games. One is the one about Super Mario Bros. 3, and then the other one is GoldenEye 007, and I haven't read that one yet, but it has gotten rave reviews, and I'm so excited to check it out. So I'll make sure to post a link in the description section below for that. And honestly, I think that's it. Nothing else needs to be said at this point other than, hey, just thank you for listening to this. We're, I'm sure now, around 10, maybe even 20 minutes into a video about a video game that was published sometime in the 1980s, and you're listening to me talk about it. That's awesome. You are awesome. Please make sure to pat yourself on the back, buy yourself a cup of coffee. You deserve it. And seriously, thank you for listening. And also, hey, go play some video games.